Hello there, it's me, Nita Rose, and welcome to my channel. This is a review video of Rave Master Volume 31, starting out with Chapter 254 titled Give Raisha Back, and ending with the Chapter 262 titled The Trigger to Destruction. Now then, ladies and gentlemen, it is time to talk about one of my favorite volumes of Rave Master. Why is it my favorite? Because of this. Now, the woman that Haru ran into is my favorite character that I have been mentioning since the first video, and this woman is Ellie, the main female protagonist of the series. There are a few reasons as to why she is my favorite, due to her backstory, development, characteristics, and her importance to the show. Her role to that importance to the plot of the story is phenomenal. At least to me it is, and we will get to her story as we continue reading, so shall we? Now that we got to this point from my second video review back in October 2022, it is time to get into the backstory of the one and only Ellie. The first chapter of the volume starts off with Haru going after the enemies to save Raisha, while Sihar is trying to figure things out and Ellie starts to feel sick again. Raisha is blindfolded because this guy can't stand to look at her eyeballs, but has no problem looking at her and gets kicked in the face. This angered the man. He ended up slicing her arm. You know, while reading the dialogue of this panel, I have noticed some racism. I mean, the man didn't get upset with Raisha because he kicked her. No, it's because her Siphonian foot touches his Rave golden face. Overall, this could be the era where racism is all more common and thus doesn't get addressed until years or centuries later. It's almost like a black woman slapping a white man after he sexually harasses her, but the black woman ends up facing the consequences. I can see that happening here with Raisha. She was just defending herself for sexual harassment, and yet she's the one getting punished. I never suspect that the creator will sneak that one into the manga. So after Raisha's arm got slashed, Ellie suddenly fainted, and then a scar appeared on her arm, right in the same spot as Raisha's wound. The pieces are starting to come together now. Haru managed to make it to her, but then Saffron ran out of power since Raisha is in trouble. But Haru wasn't giving up. He managed to get on board the carriage as the man keeps knocking him back, but he kept coming forward as he pulled himself in and knocked out one of the men. Sihar is looking over the village as he noticed that the king is unaware of Raisha's kidnapping, but he's also bothered by the wound on Ellie's arm that suddenly appeared. Meanwhile, Haru helps Raisha, but she's not allowed to see him, so he asks her to keep the blindfold on. He was about to take Raisha back, but then this guy got in the way, so Haru must deal with him first and managed to take him down. But then the carriage went flying and Raisha fell out, seeing the carriage was about to fall on her. Back at the Ellie village, the people are noticing that Raisha hasn't showed up yet and started getting impatient. Sihar notices as well and was wondering why it's taken Haru so long. But then Ellie was willing to take Raisha's place, but she can't in her condition and then suddenly fainted again. But then Raisha comes running towards the village. Everyone was relieved as it turned out that back to the scene where Raisha was about to be crushed by the carriage, Haru pushed her out of the way, risking his own life for hers. Raisha wanted to help him, but he told her that she needed to go back to the village and do the dancing ceremony. Raisha felt guilty, but at the same time, she also felt it was the right thing to do. She sees Ellie's outfit and thinking that it's the outfit she's supposed to wear and puts it on. She went on stage as the crowd cheered for her, and then the king noticed the bandage on her arm, and these two seem to be up to no good. Haru drags the guys who kidnapped Raisha and gave him to Robin, the guy in the leopard outfit. Haru told him to let people know that Robin himself is the one who captured the kidnappers. Raisha does her dance and then Ellie wakes up. She sees Raisha dancing as it felt familiar to her. Sihar noticed the wound on Raisha's arm and then the scar on Ellie's arm. The king also noticed that something was off, but then one of the men found nasty food at the church and decided to eat it, knowing that Raisha was the one that made it. Sihar and Ellie are now walking away to find Haru until he ends up finding them. Now they need to find a way to get back to their era, but they're not sure how. But then Ellie realized that Raisha has her pendant since they swapped outfits. Sihar told him that they need to get that pendant back from Raisha. He brings Haru with him, leaving Ellie behind. Raisha was in her room when she noticed the name Ellie and the year engraved on the pendant, then started remembering what her rescuer said earlier about Plu and 50 years ago. But then the color silver came up, but then started forgetting. Man, poor girl. Can't imagine what suffering she's going through. Raisha gets frustrated and then she begs someone to help her. Haru and Seahart are inside the castle looking for Reisha's room to find the pendant. But then they overheard the conversation between the king and these two. They heard that in order to destroy Endless, they have to kill Reisha. This baffles Seahart and Haru as they just learned that Reisha may have not died from overusing a Therion, but instead killed by the king. Haru wants to kill his own grandfather to save Reisha, but Seahart stopped him from doing so, and after a while, Haru finally calmed down. They discussed the historical death of Reisha of overusing the Therion, but according to what they just heard, that could be just a cover-up of the truth. They're also trying to figure out why killing Reisha would stop Endless. Don't the people need a Therion to stop that monster? Wouldn't killing the user be a disadvantage? There's a lot more going on than what we know. So Haru and Seahart are now going through multiple time skips until they reach the date September 9th, which is the day of when the Rave stones were created. But before that happened, we are seeing July 8th, Reisha was told by the king that she must die. July 26th, she cries in her room. August 3rd, she's greeted by a young boy. August 14th, Reisha meets Shiba. August 29th, she sees Shiba coming for her. And now, September 9th, Reisha secretly says her goodbyes to Shiba. Haru and Seahart are now on the day of Reisha's death. While Haru is going after his grandfather, Seahart starts thinking back and puts all the pieces together and realizes Ellie's true identity. Ellie is starting to remember that time with that man as she finds her way to a small house which belongs to Reisha. She steps inside and realizes that this is her home, and one look at that bear, she starts to remember everything. She walked back out in the rain and remembered that day while demonstrating herself to the event during that certain time in her life. Now with Haru, he sees what truly happened to Reisha, and that she claimed that Reisha is dead while cutting off her own hair, and here she has become Ellie. As expected or not expected by the viewers of the manga, Reisha and Ellie are the same person. Not only that we, the audience, learned about this, but also the three characters within this volume. It's intriguing how each one discovered the truth about Reisha. Ellie discovered it through her memories, Haru witnessed Reisha's transformation, and Seahart discovered it on his own after seeing hints and putting the pieces together. This is the moment that Ellie realized that she is Reisha, and that she faked her own death so the enemy won't come after her anymore. This is the reason why this volume is my favorite. Seeing Ellie discovering her past and then a big plot twist was intriguing, but there's more to come as we keep reading. Haru rushes towards Ellie while she witnesses the citizens learning about her death, as they cried and drowned in sorrow. Ellie remembers that moment when the king told her that she had to die, but in truth, she just had to fake her death. But the king is bearing the burden along with her. But he will leave the fate in the hand of his child Gale, and if not him, then a child of him. Ellie sees the unused clock tower, knowing very well that's where her past self is hiding. She then runs towards young Shiba where he obtains the Rave stone. Ellie cries for him and wants him and the other knights to know that she's alive, but Haru came up behind her and told her that she can't. He tells her that she must endure it no matter how painful it is as he embraces her. They found Seahart as Haru calls Ellie's name, but she tells him that she's not Ellie, but to him, she is. He will not stop calling her Ellie. Ellie is the woman that Haru adored and the woman he fell in love with. Now they must return to their era as the sun was setting and the beams of life approached them. Seahart recognized it as the time rift and that's their ticket back home. However, Seahart realized that the magic can send them anywhere and any time, but being a guardian of time, he uses his ability to send Ellie and Haru back to their era while he stays behind. Now saying that Ellie being Reisha was a plot twist? Well, here is even a bigger plot twist. Remember that skeleton now sitting on the rock in front of Reisha's grave? Well, that skeleton turns out to be Seahart. What happened after sending Ellie and Haru back to their time? Seahart collapsed and he's been out cold for 4 days. Once he wakes up, he realizes he can't do anything to disturb the timeline. He starts to witness Reisha visiting her own grave. He also noticed that she's wearing Ellie's pendant, and then he accidentally spoke to her. He asked for the pendant and he told her that it belonged to someone that was precious to him. Reisha gave him the pendant and told him that he's a lucky guy. Seahart puts on the pendant and then sat there doing nothing for the past 50 years. Honestly, this scene made me cry. Even after reading it again, it just brings back the tears. This is one of those emotional moments that you could never forget about. Hiro Mashima always knew how to put off these emotional moments when it matters. Seeing an unforgettable character like Seaheart having their life taken away for the greater good, he did it to protect someone who is dear to him. And that is what makes this a great impact towards the audience. After that heartfelt and sad moment, Haru suggests that they should move forward for Seaheart. Meanwhile, Musuka and the others are taking hits left and right as the ship's starting to fall as the old man is taking them down one by one. But then he senses magical powers and heads towards Reisha's grave, where he finds Ellie and Haru. He ends up destroying Seaheart's skeleton right in front of Ellie. This infuriated Haru, but it infuriated Ellie even more as she unleashed her powers while Haru noticed that she can now control Etherion. Ellie uses the Etherion to attack the old man with full force. The old man uses magic powers to strike back, but Ellie managed to repel it, and then the old man realized that she's Reisha Valentine. We are now shown a flashback of the king on his deathbed with a smile on his face. At first, the old man didn't realize why he was smiling, but after realizing that Reisha is alive, he understood. He also claims that he was the one who killed the king. This made Ellie release her power in rage, but gets pushed down as the old man threatens her to kill him, saying her anger caused destruction. But the volume ends with the anger expression from Haru. Now you know why this is one of my favorites, not in just Rave Master, but in all of anime. Not only did I see the phenomenal backstory of my favorite character, but also see more of the connectional bond between Haru, Ellie, and Seaheart. Yes, it was hinted early in the series that Ellie and Reisha Valentine are the same person. I speculated that a long time ago, but what intrigued me about this volume is not what happened, but how it happened. Reisha's death was all a lie, but for a good reason. And Ellie having the same overpowered magic as Reisha makes sense now because they are the same person. The identity of the skeleton being Seaheart stuck in the past protecting Ellie for 50 years made a big impact on me as a reader, and this is what makes the volume so great.